friends, and welcome to our streaming Sunday services. We are streaming on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Zoom. If you're joining us on Zoom, welcome. Say hi in the chat, and consider staying afterwards for our talkback. Stay a few minutes afterwards, and we'll give you the link, and you can join our community. As you see, I have a happy birthday hat, not because it's my birthday. Y'all who know me know I get a crown for my birthday. The Light Fury and Night Fury are wearing them. But my son turned 6 this week, and this is his birthday hat with happy birthday candles. So happy birthday, Jensen. I stole your hat for this one thing. Anyway, if you go to Facebook, you can also, or YouTube, if you go to Facebook or YouTube, you can sign up to get notifications and to subscribe. Today's sermon is Personal Communal Spiritual Practice with Beth Ferree, part of our Spirit and Practice series. In addition to Sunday services, we have other ways to connect, including Facebook, Instagram, the e-blast, and the YouTube channel. If you're needing some pastoral care, contact Deneen, pastoral care at oakcliffuu.org. She is amazing. She's also doing 2 weekly Zoom check-ins and chats, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and Fridays at 9 p.m. So if you're a morning person or a night owl, either one of those, she's very flexible and very wonderful. So we have her for about another month, I think. So take advantage, you know? If you would like to help serve your church financially, then please go to oakcliffuu.org/donate to donate, like a collection plate. Amazon Smile if you're using Amazon. I Give if you're using anything else, and neither of those require anything other than signing up for you. I'm going to avoid saying stick it to the man while you're shopping from Amazon. Oh, I said it. And our text to give option, which is super easy and fun, like ordering a pizza, but contributing to your church. We even have a new donate button on Facebook, so check that out if you're on Facebook. All right, Rebecca has plans in the works for an online auction fundraiser. Donna, actually right now, Rebecca is taking care of family business. Forgive me. If you have something you'd like to donate to our online auction, just like the auction we have every year, last year we had a lot of really, really, really great stuff. We had bongo drums and the alien baby picture, which now is in Joey and Josh's possession, and Rita's margaritas, and there were just a lot of amazing things. So still doing it, but if you want, but we're doing it online this year. So if you have something to donate, email Donna at auctions@oakcliffuu.org. Also, if you, and that's if you want to get involved as well, email that same email address. If you are an artist or a crafter who would like to donate, but also receive a portion of the purchase price, use the same email address, which was auctions@oakcliffuu.org, but address it to Nancy Harms. Halloween, yes, love Halloween. We always have such great Halloweens. And this year we're doing a haunted forest. It's going to be amazing. We wanted to do this last year, got kind of rained out, but we're still doing it this year every Saturday in October. There's a lot of people who are already working on this, on making it a success. People walking through and clearing out the woods and cleaning up the labyrinth. People who are, I believe that Kathy is already doing decorations. But we need more and more and more to make this a success. Our church isn't pulling in rental right now, and so we could use the extra money to keep us going. And I mean, come on, a Halloween fundraiser, walking through the woods at night. What could be better? So we are. We need volunteers to, build up, create decorations, hang decorations, set up, clean up, all that good stuff, but also people to walk through the tour with people and to jump out and scare people. So we have something for everybody. If you are extremely socially distanced and extremely quarantined, like my family is, we have something for you. And the whole thing will be socially distanced. So we are keeping it safe. So please don't hesitate to help out. It's always so much fun, and this year's going to be no different. So, and it's easier than ever to sign up. You just go to our Sign Up Genius. You can find the link in Talkback, But if you've never done a Sign Up Genius, it's very, very easy. There's just a list of things that are needed, and you sign up for a slot. That's it. Really easy. You'll get a confirmation email. So do it. It's going to be so much fun, and it's even more fun if you're there with us. Yes, I'm talking specifically to you. If you volunteer your time or your talent for any of these wonderful things, make sure that you log those hours so that we can turn that into grant money. I didn't think of anything clever, so let's just go with giant piñata. We'll get a giant piñata full of bees. Bees are good for the environment. We'll YouTube the whole thing. It'll be fun. You can log those hours and breeze. If you are new here, please sign our guest book, oakcliffuu.org/guest, and say hi. It's really nice to have you. There are no member anniversaries, so just in case you've somehow managed to get this song out of your head, I won't do the whole thing. You have a happy Sunday. Bye, friends.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff. Whether we are together in physical presence or together virtually, we want to welcome you to our family. Ours is a non-creedal faith based on the belief that each human is divine and entitled to their own personal practice without judgment. We can find the divine through many different aspects of life, from science to psychology to the more spiritual connections of Christianity and even paganism. We recognize that we have the right to be here and a responsibility to care for our fellow human beings. Ours is a church of radical inclusiveness, individual agency, and social justice. We provide a safe place in which to stand up, stand out, and change your mind. Thank you for joining us.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness.
And now in Spanish. Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
May we recognize and abandon the familiar attitudes and practices that do not serve the whole. We are who we are, and we have the opportunity to be who we want to be, to create a new inheritance for the future. May our thoughts, words, and actions in our daily lives assist in dismantling paradigms of oppression and suffering. May we give thanks for our individual place in time and space, to our families and our relationships that touch and change us. May we give thanks to the wise teachers who help us remember how to be and the chances to make it so. Underneath and within these stories and histories is our humanity. Being human means we are of this earth. We are these waters. We are fire and atmosphere. We are the sun and the moon and the stars. We are all that we see, and the wisdom is revealed by looking in between.
Please join your voice to mine in affirming our congregation's spiritual covenant. Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance and service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together.
And now in Spanish. Porque nos amamos uno al otro, honramos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y aceptación, así que hacemos pacto.
You are not alone with your sorrow, just as I am not alone with mine. Our covenant of right relations makes this so. You and I are bound by our promise to commune. In community, the burden of a heavy heart is shared. A burden shared is a burden lightened. At this time, we invite you to publicly post your sorrows and prayer requests to the Zoom chat or to send them to our Facebook Messenger.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
This Sunday, like every Sunday, we reaffirm our promise to one another. Our promise makes clear the call to celebrate. For that which brings you joy, makes you grateful, brings you peace. We, your sacred community, celebrate. We celebrate together and magnify joy, heighten gratitude, and spread ever-increasing peace. At this time, we invite you to publicly post your joys and prayer requests to the Zoom chat or send them to our Facebook Messenger.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart of the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
My favorite part of the day is the early morning hours, when it's quiet and there's nothing to think about other than how strong to make my coffee. My routine is to go outside, feed the cats, and say good morning to Tori, our resident toad. I give Tommy, the semi-feral, some treats and talk to him. A year ago, I couldn't even get near him. and today he will come up to me for his treats. It's a very spiritual time in which I can connect with a hurt soul and do my best to heal him through love and attention. In return, I am also healed, for the communication between human and animal is a proven source of healing. Like any healing process, it takes time and patience. We haven't moved in a straightforward pattern like toward domestication, neither he nor I. It has been a few steps forward and a few steps back if I accidentally startle him in any way. And yet I persevere every day, regardless of the outcome, in that particular moment in time, because I know, and Tommy knows, we're making progress. And isn't that the real purpose of life? Today we're talking about personal and communal practices in terms of our spiritual lives. But what I've noticed in my own spiritual growth is that what happens within can generally be reflected in what happens without. A spiritual practice is intended to heal those parts of you that are keeping you from being fully present for yourself and for others. A spiritual practice can be almost anything that brings you peace or joy. Journaling is one of those that many people use. It should be something you feel passionate about and would be willing to devote a certain amount of time to each day to begin. There's a story in the materials you're studying in this course that illustrates that passion. Pablo Casals, born in Vendrell, Spain, to his Puerto Rican mother, is thought by many to be the greatest cellist who ever lived. His recordings of the Bach cello suites, made between 1936 and 1939, are considered unsurpassed to this day. Casals' prodigious musical talent became evident early. By the age of 4, he could play the violin, piano, and flute, having been taught by the church organist and choir director. When he first heard a cello at the age of 11, he decided to dedicate himself to that instrument, and he had already given a solo recital in Barcelona 3 years later at the age of 14. 5 years later, he was on the faculty of the renowned Municipal School of Music in Barcelona and was principal cellist of the Barcelona Opera House. He gained international acclaim in a career of such length that he performed in the United States for both President Theodore Roosevelt and President John F. Kennedy. Yet, having attained such unquestionable mastery of his instrument throughout his entire life, Casals maintained a disciplined regimen of practicing for 5 or 6 hours every day. On the day he died, at the age of 96, he had already put in several hours practicing his scales. A few years earlier, when he was 93, a friend asked him why. After all he had achieved, he was still practicing as hard as ever. Because, Casals replied, I think I'm making progress. Now, spiritual practice does not necessarily mean you have to spend 6 hours a day practicing it. The reality is, when we practice spiritual connection every day, we eventually get to the point at which it becomes part of our day, if we choose the right mindset. But that definitely is much easier said than done, as I can attest to, and so I continue to practice. I think I'm making progress. Some of the personal practices that are most familiar are meditation. Right now, I can personally recommend doing a search on YouTube for the this meditations. It releases internal anger and gives you a good laugh. It's honest, and by the end of 15 minutes, you have released a lot of tension. There are also meditations that fit whatever you're struggling with on any particular day. I am an overthinker, and I have a feeling a lot of you are too. So I found a meditation that puts me in the mindset of letting things go. I will post these links on TalkBack. Another type of spiritual practice is affirmations. While it can involve writing messages to yourself, such as, you are beautiful, you are worthy, it is also about using your imagination. Affirmation is one of my daily acts. I started with the written notes, but today I use it to imagine a bright healing light that spreads beyond me to the world. This can be taken to a communal level, such as when I gather with a group of my other spiritual friends to imagine this healing in sync. This practice and prayer are much the same thing in this respect. Even science has found this practice to work by changing the focus of our prayers and affirmations on a molecular level. We will talk about activism more in this series later, but it is a spiritual practice that helps spiritual growth both personally and as a community. It is an opportunity to become more human by reaching out and learning from other activists or from the community you're working with. With this comes bearing witness to the tragedy of the world and learning to find the blessing amid the difficult times. Another practice with which I'm most familiar is that of ancestry, creating your own story for the generations coming and collecting stories from the generations preparing to exit. If you believe in reincarnation or not, you discover a great deal about yourself by learning who you followed, and it brings with it an opportunity to heal those parts of your trauma that was brought down through the generations. For those who are most connected to art, simply creating one project or part of it each day gives you the opportunity to learn insight into yourself as well as into the world of your imagination. With practice, you'll begin to deeply appreciate your unique voice. Some people like to have altars and shrines. This is quite a common practice for Eastern cultures to this day. My personal altar has things on it that represent those parts of myself I want to nurture, such as photos, candles, feathers I've collected, a pen and a bottle of ink, thimbles, and more. Body practices, which will also be covered in another segment of this course, such as yoga or healthy eating. Now, this is one I personally struggle with, as do many of us during this time of being sequestered. As someone who was once bulimic and had body dysphoria, I have a complicated relationship with food, but I will continue to try, and likely I will fall multiple times before I understand this particular practice. I remind myself it's about the intention, not always the results. The more difficult spiritual practices are often the ones that give you the most insight about yourself, as in body practices for me. I do understand that once you become aware of the reality of your death and come to terms with it, you suddenly understand that the focus of your life becomes about the present, not the past, not the future. Other practices, such as balance, which provides you with the opportunity to be open-minded, accept ambiguity, and be comfortable with the unknown. In today's political and social climate, balance has to be about the most difficult and the most necessary practice to focus on. One of the most spiritual elements of the earth is that of water. While some practice ritualistic bathing, we can bring that concept into the church in the form of water communion. Any personal spiritual practice can be adapted for the community. But why do we need communal practice if we have personal practice which makes us feel connected? This story, which is also a part of the curriculum we're using, gives us some insight. After many years in the congregation, she'd had enough. Knowing the people as well she did, she knew what they said on Sunday and what they did on Monday was not always equate. Often Sunday was the one day of the week on which you could tell that people believed what they said they did. The rest of the week she could see little difference between the other members of the congregation and the hypocrites they denounced. And the words of the hymns no longer spoke to her. They talked of things she had long ago given up believing, or were words that had no real meaning in her life. And the sermons weren't much better, entertaining perhaps, sometimes giving her something to think about. But a good book or an independent film would do the same. And besides, she'd had to go when she was a kid, and when her kids were young. But now? No, she'd had enough. And so she began walking into the woods on Sunday mornings, alone with her thoughts and the rustling leaves. She felt a freedom she had not known in a long time. She got more from the sunshine than from the year of sermons, and the birds surpassed any anthem she'd heard. This was good. This was right. The woods were her sanctuary. The wind was all the preaching she needed. This continued for some time, until one day she realized that the birds sang together and the trees swayed as one, but she was by herself. No squirrel cared that she had a new grandchild. No rhododendron could help her wrestle with her mother's Alzheimer's. The flora and fauna did not face what she faced as a human, and so could not offer their understanding, nor could she really offer herself to any of them. So she returned to her congregation, and she saw herself in the people who were trying to live what they believed, and she learned her life in the hymns and the readings and the sermons, or at least some of the time, and she never gave up her walks in the woods. But she realized she needs both. A worship is often associated with church services and has negative connotation for many. Worship is simply that ability to connect with something of worth. This is the UUA's Commission on Common Worship, taken from 1983. Worship is a human activity, though it is often defined as reverence given to a divine being or power. Worship need not have supernatural implications. The origin of the word worship in the Old English, weorthscrippen, meaning to ascribe worth to something, to shape things of worth. We worship then whenever we ascribe worth to some value, idea, object, person, experience, attitude, or activity, or whenever we give form or shape to that which we've already found to be of worth. A worship experience can occur at any time while one is alone or a part of a group, whenever something beautiful is perceived, whenever there is a deep sense of connectedness with other persons in the natural world, or with the transcendent, however you might define it, whenever one gains insight or a new sense of wholeness, whenever one perceives an ethical challenge, whenever life is deliberately focused or ordered. In all these situations, one can be said to be worshiping. So we worship together because we feel a deep sense of connection to what we find worthy and those with whom we gather. It is at once both a psychological need as well as a spiritual practice. As UUs, we do not use only the Bible to connect us to these spiritual practices, giving us the ability to come together as one with many varying beliefs. For those who are unaware, we use several sources, and these are direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Wisdom from the world's religions which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life. Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. As Reverend Kathleen Rollins said, throughout history we have moved to the rhythms of mystery and wonder, prophecy, wisdom, teachings from ancient and modern sources, and nature herself. As we consider where we are now during this pandemic, we must learn to understand that our personal spiritual practices are what can get us through the week. While we meet virtually and through Zoom and social media, we also recognize that this is a time during which it is essential to look within for our spiritual boost as well. I personally believe we have come to a time in our history when we are being forced to look within and heal our personal trauma. This will not last, but we will emerge different, hopefully more grateful for what we have and more willing to provide for those who have not, for there will also be much to do in that regard. Perhaps enough of us will discover that balance, which will be necessary to move the world forward. As I said, what we experience on a personal spiritual level is a reflection as well on what is going on in the larger world. This is a time of mass awakening in the world, And this time of reflection is intended for us to use to heal our inner trauma so we can move forward and create a better world for everyone. There will be those who choose not to participate in this healing, and the challenge will be to accept that not everyone is going to come through this pandemic with the ability to see the potential in the future. That is their personal choice, and we need to let karma sort that out. I do believe enough of us will awaken to the possibilities, and we will create a better world, simply because my spiritual practice demands I not focus on potential negative outcomes. In closing, I'd like to ask each of you to consider a question. What are you passionate about? What can you bring to your own personal spiritual connection with the divine or anything else into your larger community? Thank you.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope. For we are now the keepers of the dream. To make an offering or pledge, please go to oakcliffuu.org/donate.
Good morning, church. Today we have Dr. Beth with us from South Oak Cliff, and he is going to explain to us what he does.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be part of such an awesome organization and a wonderful church with great people. I am currently the community liaison for Dallas South Oak Cliff High School. It's located right here at 3601 South Marsalis Avenue, right in the heart of South Oak Cliff, Texas, 75216. In my role as community liaison, my specific and sole purpose is to provide services and support for the entire campus. That means the principals, the teachers, the cafeteria workers, the custodians, teacher appreciation. But what I most love about what I'm able to do is working with our children, and particularly our transient homeless students. We have about 52 at South Oak Cliff out of about 1,300 students. That's up from the 36 just about 2 years ago. Dallas Independent School District has about 160,000 students, 6,500 are homeless. So this is a natural problem. What we're trying to do is eradicate teen homelessness from within our public school system. And with support from organizations like you, we're able to help our seniors
Right now, we're working with a group of seniors, 3 in particular, that have been part of our homeless student population for 3 years. They all 3 receive scholarships, whether it be in wrestling, band, or choir, and they're going to college. But again, being transient means they don't have any resources, so they can accept the full scholarship but not have enough resources to take care of the down payment for dorm rooms and actually getting to the college. So what we do is called standing in the gap, where wherever there's gaps in these young people's life, in particular our communities of color, 75216, the super block of South Oak Cliff, West Dallas, and all over, what we attempt to do is stand in those gaps and make sure that those students and those families, the siblings, have every single thing essential that they need. And that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. I think my grandmother used to say, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I've been at South Oak Cliff for 19 years, serving in various capacities. I've been in this capacity for 3 years. And again, we are making connections with our faith-based community, and we're bringing them into our schools to bless our students and bless their families and their communities. And during COVID, it's been really, really, really tough in the 75216 community with deaths. And again, our population are the highest target rate in regards to deaths right now with COVID in our community. So we do what we can in regards to just helping those families. It's a lot of emotional, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of physical trauma that goes on from being homeless and things of that nature. And what we try to do is put a hedge of protection around them. We love on them, we pray for them, and we just try to give them encouragements to stay in school and change their situation.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy. Así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy. Así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues until we are together again, friends. Be strong, be well, be true, be loving.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And now in Spanish. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.